welcome to Writings, Chats, and Friends. My name's Monica Brinkman, if this is the first time you're here visiting us. And as always, my wonderful, wonderful co-host, Mr. Kenneth Weene, joins me. And today I even have my kitty cat, Henry, looking on.
Hi, Henry. Hello. Hi, Monica. Hi, Henry. And hi, wonderful listeners / viewers. Today, Monica and I thought we'd be talking about rights, but I wanted to start out with a poem. You know, we call the show Writings, Chats, and Friends, and today it's a poem by one of my favorite American poets, Langston Hughes, and it's titled "Let America Be America Again." Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dreamer's dream. Let it be that great strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream, beaten yet today, oh pioneers. I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker battered through the years. Yet I am the one who dreamt our basic dream. In the old world, while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned. It's made America the land that has become, oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me, surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we've dreamed, and all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held, and all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay, except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's land, Indians, Negroes, Me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again? Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain from those who live like leeches on the people's lives. We must take back our land again. America. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath. America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all a stretch of these great green states, and make America again.
Wow. There is so much within that piece that I personally can attest to in my own life.
Yeah.
So I think that is a wonderful way to start out the show.
Because I think today we decided we were going to talk about freedom.
Mm-hmm. And what freedom is. One of the things that I grow a little weary of, Ken, there's two things that are said often when people are debating about issues and laws or anything, and immediately your constitutional right and freedoms is brought up as a reason to reject something or to support something. The second thing that they always talk about is, well, I guess that kind of encompasses both of them. One's constitutional right and one's freedom. And I think a lot of people think those are the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, let's talk about the freedoms granted in the Constitution.
Yes.
There are the rights. They're really rights. It's not freedoms, but rights. And we call it the Bill of Rights. And, primarily it's in the first 10 amendments. There are other things in the Bill of Rights, other than the Bill of Rights, that later on, such as the ending of slavery. But the Bill of Rights really was a wish list of the early colonists with regard to the law in England. Mm-hmm. One of the things we have to remember is, like, for example, when it says freedom of religion, they really mean, actually what it says is the establishment of a religion. They're talking about the Church of England. Mm-hmm. They're talking about
the Episcopalian Church, yeah.
That there were dissenters who came here. Now, not everybody who came here were dissenters. Some of the colonies were very much in the grips of the Anglican Church, the Church of England. Mm-hmm. But a number of them, especially in the North, in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, they were more out of the Puritan and Protestant tradition. And in Maryland, it was a Catholic tradition. In Pennsylvania, of course, was the Quaker tradition.
Right.
And so what they were saying is there shouldn't be an established church.
Right.
We have now changed that in some ways. And it's interesting because when I was a kid, I grew up in Massachusetts, which at the time was very heavily influenced by Catholicism, but more by Christianity. So here I was, a little Jewish kid going to a church, and I was learning Christmas carols, and I was being indoctrinated with Christian thought. Nobody thought about it. Nobody said, well, gee, when you read the Bible, maybe that kid over there's an atheist.
Yeah,
you're a Hindu or whatever. Of course, one of the things that's changed is that we have more people, starting with the atheists, but more and more now in this country, we have Muslims, we have Buddhists, we have Hindus, we have Jains, we have, all these other religions. And the idea that we are establishing Christianity even becomes an issue. But that does not mean that therefore there are no rules about religion. For example, we prohibit people from engaging in dangerous practices in the name of religion. You have a 5-year-old kid and you put your 5-year-old kid in with a bunch of snakes because God will protect him, you go to jail for child endangerment.
Yeah, and there are sects of religion that do believe that's a test.
Well, yeah.
I don't believe it, but they do.
Yeah, well, of course, they're extreme.
But when does, see, the problem I have is people, okay, we're talking about religious affiliations now. They don't allow other religions to just be other religions or someone not have a religion. There's always this need to recruit, grow. And I mean, there's many a time when I have voiced my personal opinion that I've been attacked by others.
Yeah. And so okay, now we're getting into freedom of speech.
Yes.
If you have a right to speak in this country, and that is part of well, wait a minute. No, you don't have the right to shout fire in a crowded theater. No. You don't have the right to defame somebody else, to lie about them.
Or to cause illness.
Well, yeah, or in the process of your freedom of speech to somehow cause illness. There, you do not have harm. Yeah, and what is speech? Is speech picking up a stone and throwing it at somebody? You could make an argument that it is, but you don't have the freedom to do it.
No, exactly.
Okay, but let's go back. What did they really mean back then in the Constitution times? What they really meant was that political speech, that people had the right to hold views that were in opposition to what the Crown said. Mm-hmm. And we do have that right. But then with rights, as a philosopher named Berlin said, with rights come responsibility. If I have the right to oppose what the government is doing, and I certainly do have that right, I hope, well, now, does it come with a responsibility that I make cogent arguments? And what is cogent? In this postmodern world, what is a fact? One of the things that we started with back then in the 18th century was a belief in what basic assumptions and truths were. Today, we don't necessarily hold them. For one thing, we live in a post-Einsteinian world in which things are relative, and where we can have this notion of alternative universes and alternative facts.
I have alternative facts. Doesn't make it truth.
No, but a very dear friend of mine had written a comment today, and I guess it was in the New York Times, and he sent it to me with a comment, Ken, you're the only one who ever told me the truth, which was he had written a thing about Thanksgiving and how shortly after that first Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims had turned on the Native Americans.
Yes.
Joined in a war against them. And this is, our history is replete with lies
Yeah, they
And
want us to forget what really happened, and they draw this picture.
well, it's like Langston Hughes' poem. We want a myth. We are when we were young, there was a myth that we all could agree on. Now we're all arguing about what is the myth, what should be the true history of the United States. And people like Zinn, for instance, are now becoming much more popular with their alternative histories. And what should the history be? And then what truths should we gather from that true history?
I'm hoping we could learn from it, not hide it. That's even like they're talking about one of the freedoms to have a statue erected and taken down if we so wish. But what were our true freedoms? What, they're only free for this portion?
Let's stay with that statue thing, because that's a perfect example of freedom of speech. But wait a minute, let's talk about what's true and what's not true. Okay. So we have a statue of Robert E. Lee. Now, and under it says great soldier, patriot, blah, 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 all these wonderful things. And he's on his
We were taught that, yes.
We're taught that. And reality is that he, resigned his commission in the United States Army and went to fight for a rebellion. But he was a great general. He was a brilliant general. And had he better resources, he may have even won the war. But he didn't. He lost it. Okay, now, many years after, these statues are erected, and they're erected as a form of free speech. But it's telling a story that is at odds with what? With my sense of reality, perhaps yours, certainly the dignity of a large group of Americans, 15% who are Black Americans from, whose families, ancestors came from Africa.
I would imagine even the Spaniards and such.
Well, and certainly at odds with those from the North who fought against him. So these people who raised the money and put up this, wait a minute, now we're getting to Citizens United. Is money speech?
It sure has become that way.
Organizations have the right to say what they want. These are not simple questions. So one of the things I have been calling for years is I think it's time for us to have a new constitutional convention.
I've heard quite a few people bring that up, Ken, especially this last 6 months. People are saying we are basing everything on what happened back in 1700s. We're
Right.
a completely different world. We're a world that's based on technology now, and we know so much more.
Yeah, we've gone through, we're now in the third industrial revolution, and we're still, thinking in pre-industrial revolutionary terms. And yeah, so what is free speech? How should free speech be protected, and where should it be limited? What are the responsibilities? Let me ask a simple question. I have 11,000, I think, or maybe it's more, followers on Twitter.
Okay.
At what point do I have a responsibility to fact check my tweets?
I think most of them should be fact checked.
At what point is it 11,000 followers, or is it 5,000 followers, or is it one follower?
One follower.
Okay, so now what is fact checking?
I think I know what I do, Ken. I look for documentation. I look for laws. I also look for both sides. If someone, let's say, I'm just going to bring Fox News up because they're the most well-known. I'll check out what they have to say and do some research on it. And I think once you do all this research to get to what really transpired, you're going to find some truth.
Well, but now, when you say research, what is it? Now, there are people whose research is to watch videos on YouTube.
Yeah, but that's not real research, is what I was saying.
What is research?
Research is hearing someone say something.
Yeah, but am I even capable of doing it? Let's say I have a PhD, but it's in psychology. I'm going to say something about COVID vaccines. Am I actually competent to do research?
I think the scientists are competent.
I know enough about the science of psychology to know that often your funding leads you to follow certain.
No, it does. It's just like pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, they get the lab tests the way they want them, not maybe out much.
It really is not.
But you can find that information out if you fact check.
It's really not that simple. And so I'm sitting here and I'm about to write a tweet, which is only a few hundred characters, remember, and I can't put all the caveats in, and I want to say something meaningful. And so what is freedom of speech and responsibility? Just another area where we have to start talking about what is and isn't sent. And then we get into questions like, who's a citizen?
Yeah.
Who should be a citizen? And what our borders should be like. Like we did a very interesting conversation back a bit about the borders.
Yes.
And we're talking about it. And who's a citizen? And what about should the presidency and vice presidency be limited to a natural born citizen? That's an interesting question. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger would probably have become president if that had not been a rule in the Constitution. Should it still be a rule in the Constitution?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to. Yeah, because we've changed so much. We have so many immigrants, and my family was an immigrant family also. We have so many here nowadays.
Oh, what about our what do they call them? The young people who were brought here.
Oh, the
Dreamers. What about that?
I'm really upset about that for one reason. They were promised by our government a certain thing. They complied. They did what they were supposed to do per our government, assuring them they're not going to get deported. There's not going to be a problem. They came forward, and then somebody else got to elect, and they say, well, sorry, we lied to you. That's disgraceful.
Well, can the United States, the sovereign never lies because the sovereign determines truth. That's one of those things. We're getting back to some of the fundamental assumptions. Okay, one of the fundamental assumptions behind the United States government was the absence of sovereign. In England at that time, there was a sovereign, and everything was in the king's name.
Yes.
It still is done that way, but and that kind of gives the government an authority and the ability to lie. Okay. We can lie because it is in protection of the sovereign. This country, for years, people assumed because we had overthrown the sovereign that we did not give that kind of sovereign immunity to the government, that the government couldn't lie. Of course, we now know that was hogwash. The government was lying all along. Okay. And in the name of the government, people were injected with syphilis, for example.
Yes.
Tuskegee experiments.
Women were given abortions without their permission.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people were lied to. We were lied to. As recently as a couple weeks ago, the government was trying to lie its way out of killing 10 people in Afghanistan.
I saw that. Why lie about that?
Well, because for the same reason that police lie. If police have qualified immunity, it's the same thing. So at what point should the government have or not have
Didn't he come forward and admit it though, and take total responsibility for that attack?
I'm sorry?
I mean, I thought that the military came forward on that and took responsibility.
Not at first.
But they did, and I've never seen them do that.
Because they got caught.
I know, but we've gotten caught in the past and nobody has said a word. It's been like, we'll just not talk about that.
We do. Usually the time lag is greater. But so what? What does taking responsibility mean?
Okay? I think it's horrible. The intelligence.
You know what I thought was wonderful is I read that the family, the survivors of that attack, want a monument built. They want a monument built.
Yes.
Now the question is where? I'm saying that monument should be built right in the middle of the mall in Washington, D.C. We should have monuments in this country, not just to the poor fools, and I will call them that, who died in wars that often were foolish wars.
I know.
And being lied to, and certainly not just to the generals and admirals and presidents who led those wars, but also to the victims, to the hapless victims. When we remember them, it might begin to make us more aware of the wrong of it. But also, we also have to recognize.
And this is nothing new, right, Ken? I mean, this has happened so many times.
We also have to recognize that this opens up debate. So again, I'm going to say that freedom of speech, freedom of press, these are very crucial freedoms. I could not agree more. And I would agree, I think Langston Hughes would agree that these are crucial freedoms.
Yes.
The problem with them is defining the responsibilities that come with them and making sure that they apply in an equitable form. Okay? If a policeman lies, we have to hold him or her responsible for the lying, and we must hold the institutions that support him in the lie responsible. So here we have a situation where we have to start saying, okay, freedom of speech, yes. Responsibility of speech, yes. And finding a balance. Now, here's the wonderful thing about the US Constitution. Forget the freedoms, forget all that. Built into the US Constitution, there are checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But nobody seems to read that part of it.
Well, I'm going to say that the problem is that that system needs to be looked at and overhauled as well. Why do we need a constitutional convention? Not just to redefine our rights and our limits, but also to redefine the checks and balances. Because right now, the checks and balances lead to a failure to govern, a logjam government, foot-dragging government. Our government can only do things when enough regions, enough congressional districts, as it were, and states getting enough out of whatever it is they're doing that the congressmen and senators are willing to support it.
Well, what many of these congressmen and senators are willing to support is disgusting.
Yeah,
I've been personally affected by it, as have thousands, and that's something we'll talk about on another show. But our time's really gone fast here. I hope we can get back to this topic another time. And
I hope that some of our listeners will say, hey, Ken, I got ideas, or Monica, I want to talk about, and will contact us
Mhm.
so that they can come on and
I
join.
would love to hear from them. And
Well, they'd
folks,
like
don't be
to
afraid
change.
of us. We're very nice to our guests.
Well, no, wait a minute. You're nice.
I'm very
I'm
nice.
to the guests, but please be aware, folks, that if Thackeray, the stuffed sloth, comes on, he can sometimes get a little bit testy.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for Zachary. That's for certain. Ken, I just want to let folks know that Ken won first prize in a very well-known poetry contest, and he won it under the professional category. So I'm gonna post a link where you can find that and share a little bit of Ken's work with you, because we're really, really proud of him. Well done, Ken.
Thank you.
And with that, folks, we'll be back again. Join us and enjoy this. Bye, Ken.
Hi, Monica.